I want to introduce to you Kimchi Moyer from California, from Santa Rosa. And I've known Kimchi for several decades, actually. And she's an astute practitioner of Resopathy, and she's going to share with you many of her experiences and as well as the information behind that system of medicine. So please welcome Kimchi Moyer.
I would like to thank James and the Bioregulatory Medicine Institute for inviting me here to speak. I think the best is probably just to give you an idea how I got to this point. So I'm going to give you a quick background, how I got into the work in the field of German biological medicine and bioresonance therapy. So I'd like to start with a quote from Nikola Tesla: "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." I have a little bit of unusual story. In 1975, when Saigon fell, our family had to escape, and my parents, in order to give us a good, a better life, decided to take us all, escape on a boat. And so through that journey, I got to see humanity at its worst. I see people very desperate, and I was then just a teenager. And so when we were very fortunate to make it through 3 days and 3 nights in the ocean, in the international sea, and got picked up by an oil tanker, and then they took us to Singapore, and from there we made our way to the US 3 months later. I was fortunate while I was in the refugee camp. I got a scholarship to attend Georgetown University, and through that I was then majoring in languages, and because they asked me what is it I want to do, all I know at the time is I just want to help people. And so to help people, I have to speak their language. And so in order to graduate from Georgetown, they have me know at least 4 languages. Fortunately, I do speak French, Vietnamese, and English is my third. And then I also have to study Spanish in order to get the degree. And from there, Georgetown had the very first program to send interns in the country to work with refugees. So I was one of the very first interns in the country that got sent to work with intern governmental committee for migration, and we were then moving 14 refugees a month. So through this program, I'm able to see what's going on with all the refugees, and so I get to hear all kinds of stories, how people survive, and see how many families got broken down. And so I wanted to do more. I wanted to help more people. And so they told me, Kimchi, this is really nice that you have a good heart, but we need you to have a real skill. So become either a doctor or a nurse, and then we can send you overseas to work. So I went back to Georgetown, talked to the dean of medical school, and they told me that the dean was really good at the time. He said, Kimchi, these days, if you want to really get somewhere, become a surgeon. Don't just become only an MD, become a surgeon, and we can really use you. So I saw my life ahead, becoming 30 years old and spending my life in the operating room and giving out drugs. And I know that back in Vietnam, we don't have a lot of hospitals, and we would go, my mom would cook the herbs, and we would scrape the bags and so on. So I know there's another system. So I decided not to become a surgeon. I also know I cannot be a good nurse because I ask too many questions, and I would not make a good follower. So I have to make my own decision. So I have to find another route. And I got introduced to acupuncture and oriental medicine at the time. And without knowing much about it at the time, but I know in Vietnam we talk about energy. And that's part of our language. Everything is chi, you know. We enter a room to say the chi is not right, or the chi of that person is this way. So it's part of our language. This was an easy concept for me. So I entered acupuncture school, but at the time in the 80s, early 80s, acupuncture and talking about chi, it's still like talking about voodoo stuff. It was not that well accepted yet. So I graduated from, I get a degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine. And then I wanted to know more because I was only taking the pulse, checking the tongue, looking at the face. And I wanted to know more, and I started to ask more questions. So I started to show up at I started to go to Chinatown and looking for people with a long beard and white hair, thinking they must know something. And so I started to show up, ask a question, and they didn't like it. The way how the Asian work is that they don't like to tell you a lot of things. You just have to be there and observe, and ask too many questions they couldn't answer. So I was not satisfied because I see the information coming back is not very coherent for me. Some say it's a thready pose, some say it's a strong pose, and so I was not satisfied with that system, even though I know there's a lot to offer there. Then in 1991, I met my husband, now he's my ex-husband. He introduced me to German biological medicine and Vega testing. And without knowing much about it, I started to show up to Germany. And so that's a Vega firm. So the Vega firm is the second largest company in Europe that produce measurement technology with highest reliability in every application. So they manufacture these sensors to measure level, point level, and pressure in all types of equipment. And so the owner, Mr. Grieshaber, came down with throat cancer, and so he began to look for a way to treat himself. And at the time, Dr. Helmut Schimmel, if any of you know or heard the name of Dr. Helmut Schimmel, was then his practitioner and started to test him through electroacupuncture and begin and help him. So Dr. Schimmel then later on proposed to Mr. Grieshaber and say that you guys are really good at making all these producing all these equipment that is so precise. What if you can help me produce this technology as I measure the skin resistance and help me develop this method? And so that was how the Vega test method was born, after the name of Vega. And so then Vega company, is there a laser here? The Vega company built a separate unit, medical department, and so that's where I was trained, spend most of my time here. So over here at this place, this is where I get to meet a lot of biophysicists, and they begin to introduce to me different concepts. So imagine, I come from acupuncture and oriental medicine background. We were talking about liver yang rising, spleen dam diffusion, and that's the language I was exposed to. And I show in Germany and meet physicists like Dr. Ludwig. He started to talk to me about Schumann waves and nozzle and electromagnetic frequency, how we are swimming as human beings in all these electromagnetic frequency, and that the best frequency are the Schumann wave. That's where we most benefit from. But there are also frequencies that are also affecting us, just such as geomagnetic frequencies and solar frequencies and so on. So he's, Dr. Ludwig is no longer alive, but is absolutely an amazing biophysicist. And then I got also introduced to Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. So many of you probably have heard of Dr. Fritz Popp, who coined the term biophoton. And biophoton is a small, these photons, these are particles of light. They have no mass, they're just particles of light, and they emitted deep inside the body. You actually can sit in the room that's completely dark, and you can sit there, you can see your own photon being emitted. You can even measure a photon emission from a tomato to see if an organic tomato would emit more photon than a non-organic tomatoes. So you can make all these measurements to see if a food is more living than another food by measuring the amount of photon emission. Yeah. So Dr. Fritz Popp is now, a few years ago, he had stroke. So Dr. Ludwig already passed. Dr. Popp, at this point, is also not. I think he's still alive, but he's no longer teaching. And then one of my main mentors is Dr. Bodo Köhler. So Dr. Bodo Köhler is considered by many of us as a pope of energy medicine. And so this is, at the Vega firm, I get to meet these amazing doctors and physicists who then start to explain to me about everything about bioenergetic. And this is back into 1991, so this is 20-some years ago. So in classical mechanics, the universe is energy and matter. But in quantum mechanics, the universe is energy and / matter. Energy and matter are the same. And in biophysical mechanics, living system is being looked at as an energy, matter, and information. And information is a key here. Reality consists of fields. All living systems are controlled by a bioelectronic field of energy or information to which all material processes are subordinate. Yeah? So bioelectronic field of energy and information control all material processes. In our own organism, chemical processes are actually bioinformational processes or biophysical processes. Molecules are formed from atoms by means of electron exchange. That means energetic process. So therefore, we are already in quantum physics. In our own organism, no metabolic reaction in the body can take place without the transfer of the relevant information. So information governs all processes. This is a quote from Professor Dr. Hans Duhr, who is a student of Professor Heisenberg, and you all probably heard about the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that we cannot determine the velocity or the position of an atom because it's always moving. So he said that below the level of elementary parts, matter exists only as a wave or does not exist. This is Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Another way to look at this, matter and information, and this is a quote from Dr. Rubia, who was then head of CERN Geneva. He said that matter obeys superordinate energetic interaction forces, and that the form of structure of matter depends directly on these forces. In traditional medicine, we know this very well. Blood follows G, blood follows G. G moves first and blood will happen. And I just want to walk you through a little bit of this to show this information exists out there, and this is the work of many biophysicists out there. I'm not channeling this through Abraham or Michael. I'm using this as information to show you the background, how I get to what I'm doing today. So it's out there. You can look at it. Okay. So next, matter. What is matter? Matter consists of three things: mass, energy, and information. So you're going to hear that word a lot: information. And what is information? The property of information is fractal. What is fractal? Fractal means the information of a smaller structure have the same scale. It contains all information as other bigger scale. It's all the same thing. Right? So this is Dr. Rubia, the head of CERN Geneva. He came up with the formula, the ratio of mass particles, which is nucleons, to the energy particles, which is photon, is that formula right there. So in other words, to translate it, it means that it takes 1 billion energy units to create one single unit of mass. So what does it mean? We are 1 billion times more energy than material. That's what it means. Reality. Our realities consist of fields. Our fields are electric and magnetic. Electric field induce magnetic field, and magnetic field induce electric field. They go together. If we have a strong electric field, it's called a potential field. It is the force of the field that holds the structure together. So this is a mass that I'm touching. Right? This is a mass. If we break everything down, it's all energy moving. But what keeps it in this shape? What keeps it in this shape is the information. The information is what keeps it in this shape. Yeah? So what are the properties of the field, of the vacuum? The properties of the field, the vacuum, it is fractal. The fractal information is embedded in both the macrocosmos and the microcosmos. The properties of the field is also it's self-organized and it's highly coherent. So what is disease? Disease is a loss of coherence. Right? Disease can come from a loss of order, such as in emotional chaos. It can come from interference, such as toxic from the environment. It can come from radiation that affecting us. It also can come from the change in the water structure, such as in geopathic stress. All of this, James has mentioned all of that before. And I just love it, James. I didn't even know what you were presenting, and it's just like the same thing. This is great. And what is disease? Disease is also seen as a loss of regulation. And so disease is a disorder of a dynamic process of regulation which involves the entire organism. So permanently disrupted regulation is viewed as the root cause of many systemic illnesses and is often connected to the environmental pollution, whether it's external pollution or internal pollution caused by our own metabolism. So what is regulation? Reaction is a regulation. If I'm going to throw a ball at you, I need you to react. If I throw something to you, you need to react. You have to dodge. You have to do something. The fact that you could react, how well do you react, gives me information how well do you adapt. So reaction is regulation. Regulation is adaptation. The ability to regulate, to adapt is a key to health. So it doesn't matter what you have. Can you react? Can you still adapt? If I'm going to throw things at you, I'm going to give you a stimulus, you must react. There are different ways to react. You can dodge very fast, you can fall down, or you can just keep standing there. In that way, it's the worst one. So let me give you some example. So there are different examples of regulation. It could be positive. I'm throw things at you, you can react, you move away, that's positive. I throw things at you, you have negative regulation, you fall down. Or rigid regulation, I'm throwing things at you, you just stand there. And I'm keep throwing it at you, you keep standing there. That's not good. Rigid is the worst one. Hyperregulation, you overreact, or hyporegulation, you underreact. So let me give you some example. This is a device made by Vega. And this is very old technology that I have. In fact, that I had until 10 days ago when my whole house and office got burned out through the Santa Rosa fire. So I don't have that piece anymore. It's an absolutely amazing technology that allows me to read the body electrically. So under positive regulation, here you can see it divides the body into a different segment. Do you have a laser here that I can? The top one.
See it? Does it work? Very top, up the no?
Red one. I don't want to press the wrong one. The red one is which one?
Yeah, I believe it's the red one there. Yeah,
The red one.
Yes, yes.
The red one. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So the person lay down. Here is the head, left, right, abdomen, left, right. No, sorry, chest, left, right, abdomen, left, right, pelvis, left, right. 5 program, A, B, C, D, E. It's sending in 13 hertz current. So the person lay down, you send 13 hertz current along the bladder meridian, and then the reaction, which should go up like this, that means you're able to adapt, you're able to meet the demand of the current. So this is a positive regulation throughout. So this is someone that have never been to a doctor. He's in his 40s. And he said, Kimchi, I'm feeling good. I don't have any issue. I just want to see where I am at. So that's a positive regulation. This is a negative regulation. You can see how it fell down like that. So that's negative regulation. This is the worst one. You can see he's adapted the first 4, and then the last 4 here. This is the segment pelvis left. You can see rigid regulation, no movement. So right away, I'm able to say, hey, something going on with your left pelvis right there. This is a hyperregulation. You can see the first bar already jumped very high. His thyroid already got irradiated. So this is hyperregulation. And this is a hyporegulation. You can see the head is very high. In this case, the woman has a lot of amalgam in her both the different quadrants of the jaw. Here and here is very low regulation, so you can think pelvis and hormones and so on. So it's just different picture of regulation for you to understand. When you challenge the body electrically, what does that do? And you can read the body, and when you're able to read the body electrically, you can see the preview, what likely will happen. Because why? Because by the time the blood show up in, the blood test starts to show some abnormal value, it's always a little too late, a little too advanced. Why? Because the blood is the last value to change. Because why? The blood is an important component. It needs to deliver oxygen and nutrients to everything. So the blood will do everything to look normal first. So what does it do? It starts to store deposit toxin deeper into the organ, into the cell. It will do whatever it needs in order to show that I'm good. So by the time it oozes out to the blood, it's always a little too late, a little too advanced. So think of it this way. People will first enter your house, right? And if UPS enter your house, they start to deliver boxes. If you have enough staff, your staff, my assistant Amanda in this case, take it all the box, put it away, and therefore the front door would look good. But if I don't have Amanda, what if I don't have any of my staff? So UPS keep bringing more boxes, and eventually it would start to congest the front door. So what do? In order to make things move, I'm going to move the boxes. I'm going to put it in the attic, in the bedroom, the bathroom, the closet. I do everything to make sure there's a flow, and that's how the blood behaves. So it will do everything possible to show it looks normal until it starts to show up as a disturbance. But by then, it's a little too late. So what if we can converse with the intelligence of the organism? So what if we have a way to talk to the body, right? What if your body has a voice to express what it wants, what it needs, in order for it to function at its optimum level, right? And what if you have a way to collaborate with the body and let it tell you what it wants? So as a practitioner, I could say, I have worked in over hundreds of cases and thousands of cases. I could say when the person come in and say, I have an autoimmune, I have cancer, I have headache, I have backache, hypertension, and so on. I could say, according to my experience, this is what you will need. based on what I know. I could be right, but I also could be wrong. So what if I involve your body and let your body tell me? Yes, most of the time, this enzyme will work. But in this case, somehow it doesn't respond. Why? Because the body has something else that's going on. It will tell you, I prefer to do this first before that. So what if we have that way? So I spent the last 26 years collecting data. So again, I just want to be clear, I'm not a physicist, I'm not a physician. I'm someone that I'm very curious how the body works. And I have, when I was a kid, I wanted to become a detective. I loved solving problems. I would sit and comb through evidence. And so since the Chinese doctor with the white hair could not answer my question, so I decided I'm going to find a way to answer these questions. So I use technology to help me read what's going on. So I spent the last 26 years, most of the day, anywhere from a few hours to the whole day with one person so that I can collect data and ask every question possible so I can understand how does the body work, but also because I know I'm tapping into the intelligence of the organism, I'm tapping into the field for information, and 20 years ago, it's like voodoo medicine, and I really want to know, is that really that way? And I need to prove it to myself, so I would sit and collect data. And after 26 years of doing that, with thousands of people getting better, a lot of it is just a lot of challenging cases, I collect all these data to prove to myself and now to the world, yes, it works. You can tap into the intelligence, there's a way to do it, and you can tap into the field to get information. So I came up, it took me many years to come up to this point to start a field I call Resopathy. So Resopathy, I define it as, is a health modality using resonance and advanced biofeedback technologies to gather biological data by measuring the body's natural electrical field. And so the method is based on point conductivity measurement. I have the device in the exhibitor hall to show you. Any of you are interested, you can come by. I explain how that works. So basically, it's a binary system. It's a yes-no system using both resonance and galvanic skin response. Galvanic skin response means that you're measuring for the electrical change in the skin. Why? Because at the hands and at the feet, this is where you have a lot of sweat gland. So you're likely to react at the hands, fingers, and the feet more. So they use it in lie detector tests by giving you stimulus, asking you a question, and you know that information. For example, if I mention Bob, you don't respond. I mention Mary, you don't respond. I mention James, suddenly you get excited, right? So there's a response, and so what I do is I record the data, and then I start to ask, James, is that connect to red, blue, yellow, and suddenly yellow. There's a response. So I record the data, I connect the information through that organized information that I collect for over hundreds and hundreds of ways connecting it. I get to see what's going on, what your body is saying, and I'm actually having a conversation with your body in this case, a deep conversation. So it is a binary yes-no system using resonant and galvanic skin response as a feedback mechanism to solicit information from living organisms. And why do I use this method? Can you use other methods? Yes. You don't have to use what I use. This is what I was trained on, and this is what I'm good at, I'm comfortable with. Can you use muscle testing? Yes. Can you use O-ring? Yes. Pendulum, however you want to use it. But why do I use this one? Because there's a lot of evidence. You're measuring a skin resistance. There's a change in the electrical resistance of the skin. There's a sound. There's a meter. There's many ways for me to rely on to make sure the information is solid. Yeah, so it's not just my mind. And also, it doesn't matter. You can go to sleep. Often people come in, they lay on the chair, they go to sleep. I still can do my work. You don't need to be awake. You can play, you can try to influence me. Doesn't matter. I still can do my work, yeah? So this is a device that I use. Vega came out with this many years ago. I think James still have this. And before I spent time with this, I also used the dark field microscopy for many years. I would observe the blood in the dark field and see how blood moved. I use the SEG. I look into the iris for information on the constitution. I do the pulse. I use the bioterrain assessment, measuring pH, oxidation rate, and resistivity of blood, saliva, and urine. So I was using many devices. But then what happened is in 2003, I went through a divorce, so I left everything, and I didn't have any more technologies with me, so I only have this, and I have to make it work, because I have nothing else. So I have to make that work, and I tweak it to ask information that I used to get from the dark field, from the terrain assessment. So I use that to formulate everything that I want to know. So that became my my right arm, and because of that, it started to help build my whole business from then on, because I just sit and gather data. So this is me doing my work. It's very interesting because I did not want to post a lot of things. I stay very private in my work, and since the fire happened 10 days ago, I post everything online. You can see everything how I work because it doesn't matter anymore. So everything is out there. You will be able to see in my website under gallery a lot of my practice. And so to explain what is resonance, a resonance occurs when two or more substances have similar or the same frequency. So if you like basketball, for example, and I don't like basketball, there's no similarity, there's no resonance. But let's say if you like bioregulatory medicine, and I also like bioregulatory medicine, there's a resonance. We get excited, we talk about it. So a resonance occurs when there are two or more substances have similar frequencies. Suddenly the amplitude would change. When the amplitude changes, I record the data. So that's what I do. I don't think we can play the video in here. This is just another example. You can probably see this on YouTube. They show how when even thing could be out sync, but together when it starts to have similar resonance, it would go in sync. So I don't think I can play the video here. So this is I made this observation based on over 2,000 cases I have worked in collect over the last many years, from little infants to 93 years old. So these are different observations that I made. What we eat and drink every day determines what organism we grow. Products with high fermentation, wine, beer, alcohol, vinegar, sugar, grains, heavy metals, as mercury can fuel yeast to rise. Bacterial growth, overgrowth feed on yeast fermentation. Long-term overgrowth of yeast and bacteria result in viral infection. Long-term viral infection will be translated into mold, parasite, pre-malignant, and malignant cases. So lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, etc. are seen in meat eaters, carb eaters, raw food, vegetarian, vegan, athletes, CEOs, gurus, health practitioners, including supplement experts. In other words, it doesn't matter who you are. At some point, we're all going to break down. How fast do we break down is another question. So I've seen people that do not smoke, do not drink, eat organic, and they still get sick. So that becomes something I want to know why. Why? What's going on? So I begin to use a technology to solve the puzzle, and tomorrow I will present the case studies, how I solved the puzzle. So I ask question, what happened? Where is it? What's going on? How bad is the situation? What are the key remedies? So I have a protocol that allows me to go through, ask all these questions, and solve the cases, which I will present tomorrow. And how I do the workup, I want to know the biological index, the state of your connective tissue. How is the traffic flow in your body? Where does it come from? What kind of intoxication? I use nozzle to determine where it's located, how bad. what type of deficiency, mineral, vitamin, enzyme, hormone, your metabolism, acid, alkaline, your emotional state, your immune system, your allergy, what organs it has come from, autoimmune, malignancy, degenerative process, and also how do we navigate through supplements like this. Everyone come in with tons of supplement, suitcase of supplement, and we're trying this, we're trying that, and we're not even sure which one will work, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So how to navigate through that? And of course, what would be the dosage? What to take? Which one will work? And so that would be the, that I will go through that tomorrow, explaining how I use Resopathy as a way to, as a GPS to navigate the body. And by having the feedback mechanism and allowing the body to have a voice, we can be more effective in achieving a better result. I believe this is the next generation of medicine. And what I am doing is to create an institute so that we can certify Reso-path, I'm begin to work with, train the next generation, to create a generation of Reso-path. A Reso-path can be a great ally to a naturopath, allopath, homeopath, dentist, etc. Because we come in and we help you navigate the terrain by telling you, yes, it's time to do this, and yes, it's not time to do that, including chemos. I have no knowledge of chemos until I begin to receive a lot of chemos and drugs from different oncologists sending to me. Of course, I don't know what chemo is what until I begin to navigate and begin to understand how chemo works. I am someone that comes completely from a natural medicine perspective until I begin to test chemo, and sometimes the body say, yes, I want the chemo. I'm just like, whoa, like why? And I begin to see there are times when it's so bad, you do need something because the body is about on its way out, so sometimes you need to have that, but you can use it as a way to come in and then come out to, and then support the body, raise the immune system. So I can explain and go through that more tomorrow, but I believe, I do think that we need a generation of Reso-path to come in and help the practitioner to determine when to do what, because right now we're just giving things. We don't, sometimes we are right, but what about when we are wrong? So the Reso-path, properly trained, can be a very good resource to all practitioners. And so the vision of the Institute is to create, to compile all these case studies, put it online to help train the next generation. We do it by certify these Reso-paths so that we can gather all these biological data together. And right now, I have nothing left behind me. I only move forward. And that's what will be my focus. I would love to work with you. And thank you, James. Thank you, the Institute. They just gave me this horseshoe. It showed that good luck if I hang it up. I just need a wall to hang it up now. Thank you very much.